Welcome back, 0K fans, to another exhibition match. This time we're going to be watching Emblis, who we saw in last game, versus LittleBunnyWabbit, also known as Dabadab or Dabakep. This guy changes his name all the time. And we're going to be on Wanderlust, which is one of my favorite maps Wanderlust is my favorite map, for the YouTube viewers out there. Welcome back, 0K fans, to another exhibition match. This time we're going to be watching LittleBunnyWabbit versus Emblis on Wanderlust. And as I was mentioning, one of my favorite maps, nice larger map, I believe it's 10 by 8, and fairly wide. See that Emblis going very quickly for Cloaky bot, while LittleBunnyWabbit is going for Jumpjet. Well, it's rather unusual. So Cloaky bot is, as I mentioned before, rather typical. Cloaky bot and shieldbot are basically the standard opening factories. They have a lot of reliable units for pretty much any situation, and are able to deal decent amounts of damage. They don't require too much micromanagement to use, but they can benefit from it. Overall, they're fairly reliable factories and quite often the starting factory of choice. Jumpjet, on the other hand, is basically micromanagement heaven. If you are good at micromanagement, you want to play Jumpjets. These Pyros here are main raider unit. They're heavy, very powerful, very tough, but very expensive. 220 metal each, that's half your opening reserve, and given that power or build power is equal to metal and energy used, you need to have, well, if you have the full metal used for a factory, this factory here uses 10 metal, well, 10 build power, so 10 metal and energy per second. It takes almost half a minute to build one of these. But they are extremely powerful. I mean, if fire, so that on its own is extremely powerful. Fire makes things burn, obviously, but burning is actually a mechanic in 0K, as we saw in the last game with the napalm bombers. Anything that's burning takes damage over time, and so, of course, requires steady repairs in order to stay alive, and as a result, pyros are best used by getting in, hitting a couple things, and then jumping out or just usually jumping out. Though, depending on the terrain, you can jump onto advantageous terrain and work from there. Jumping in is probably ill-advised. No, jumping in would be ill-advised, because then you can't jump out if you want to get out, because jumping is, as the name suggests, the Jumpjet plant, extremely crucial to the Jumpjet plant. Rather obvious, I know, but the jump command is, if you can jump, or need to get away, you can jump away several unit lengths, which usually gets you out of trouble, and that's where a lot of the micromanagement comes in, is knowing when to jump and where to jump to. Another big unit of the factory is the Puppy, which is essentially a suicide bomber, similar to the Tick we saw last game, except direct damage rather than EMP damage. One of the pyros actually going down, though nice thing to know about pyros is when they do die, they explode in flames. As a result, this metal extractor took a fair amount of damage and might be going down. The commander not able to repair it in time. Metal extractor going down, so that was not the most effective raid, but still dealt some damage. Emblis has to rebuild that metal extractor, but compared to the 220 metal for the pyro, it didn't quite make cost. That being said, getting rid of metal extractors is always important. If you can get rid of your opponent's economy, they can't do anything. And as we can see, Emblis starting right away out with his warriors, not going for any raiders apart from the opening scouts that he went for, just getting a lot of his warriors and using those to build up, having a rector as well to try to expand, but these pyros are way too powerful for any raider to deal with effectively. I mean, if you have enough of them, it's okay, but because basically they're very heavy units, they have very high health and deal a lot of damage, you don't want to try to get them with glaives, because all the glaives will just be burned to death. However, this pyro not going to survive. The laser turret able to get rid of it before it deals too much damage. Able to set the laser turret on fire, but I'm pretty sure the laser turret will survive.
Unit under attack.
And at the same time, we see that LittleBunnyWabbit's doing a lot of expansions. So these pyros are mainly for distraction. They aren't actually doing a whole lot of damage, exactly. Emblis is able to recover from that, no problem. He's rebuilt his metal extractors, and he didn't even lose the turret. But it's still somewhat of a distraction. It's keeping Emblis in his base. It's keeping him from using very fast units. He only has a couple glaives out. And I think at this point he has 5 glaives out now, one of them in production. But that did stop his raiding, so LittleBunnyWabbit has been able to expand along his half of the map, or quarter of the map, and set up some defenses as well to keep that going. Finally, however, Emblis will be coming in with his glaives. A couple puppies are here to defend, and they are going to be able to get rid of the glaives. But one of the glaives is able to escape just with his life. Glaives do have regenerating health, so it won't be too damaged for long. The puppy not going after him. See, the glaive is healing itself up. And LittleBunnyWabbit continuing to expand towards the north. Well, the glaive goes to harass. The glaive, unable to deal a whole lot of damage to the metal extractor, needs to get rid. Well, needs to get in a very good position. These solar plants have been put in a position where they cannot easily be shot through. And a couple of Moderators, these are the Jumpjet Constructor, and they are having to get away. Able to do so no problem, because they do have jump jets. But the Glaive, actually, the Glaive getting them running into the Commander, and the Commander has been morphed. It does have Beam Laser and Auto Repair. LittleBunnyWabbit not going for an early energy cell, but a couple Glaives going to the north and able to raid effectively, as they should be able to do. And Emblis has not morphed his Commander, continuing to be at level 0, not going for any of the benefits from morphing. Doesn't want to pay the cost. And I can see why, however, with opening Energy Cell, it can be a very effective way of getting your economy started. Now, LittleBunnyWabbit is... his expansion's going strong. He doesn't need to taking a whole lot of damage. Moderators repairing what was damaged. However, he is not building a whole lot offensively. Now, one of the things a lot of people like to do with the Jump Jet plant is go to the Sumo, which is a very expensive but very powerful heavy assault unit, and basically just march that towards their opponent's base and destroy everything there. However, Emblis is trying to stop this, or at least trying to deal enough damage to prevent this from ever happening in the first place. And right now, LittleBunnyWabbit not actually focusing on that yet. He is not building much at all, just focusing on his economy, and like I said, he probably will be building to a Sumo. He does have a Jack. This is a melee unit, also a heavy assault unit, but because it is melee, it requires a much better control to it, and allows for the enemy's control to be able to get away from it. However, able to distract the units enough to not avoid that puppy that destroyed the warrior and two of the glaives. Both players at a bit of an impasse right now. Jack able to deal with these units well enough to scare them off. But this tick coming in here, this tick is going to be very important. If that's able to stun that Jack and generally stun this factory, actually two Jacks now, if it's able to stun those, they will go down in a hurry. And these, once again, are like everything in the Jumpjet plant are expensive units. 650 metals, that's a minute worth of construction off the Jumpjet plant unassisted, and it is unassisted. Bearing in mind, for those of you who are watching from Akron, haven't played Total Annihilation or any of its derivative games, any factory can be assisted. If you have a builder there, or a caretaker, which is basically a builder tower, it will increase the build rate of any factory. However, it'll also, of course, increase the amount of cost. It'll increase the metal usage per second, or metal and energy usage per second. But when you have enough metal, it's worth it to get the units faster. It's actually, unlike Total Annihilation, actually more unlike Supreme Commander, I found this seemed to happen a lot there, you generally don't see players building more than one factory of any type. If they want to build units faster of a type, they will just add caretakers or builders to assist to it. But they will not attack directly. However, they will build factories of different types, like the shieldbot factory up here that LittleBunnyWabbit has built. And LittleBunnyWabbit actually very focused on his defense, is getting a lot of missile turrets built up and able to get his Jack into combat, and his bandits able to take care of the raiders and the Rocco here. That skirmisher did not really do much of anything. This Jack getting stunned right at the end. That must be painful. However, LittleBunnyWabbit coming in with some glaze, he goes around. And he is doing exactly that. He's going around the bandits. The bandit's not able to stop him as he gets to the Jack. The Jack still has 3 seconds on it. It's EMP, and it will be going down. Just barely, but able to go down. These glaives doing their job, and that... well, his bandit's actually also going down as well. So, at this point, Emblis, having taken over half the map, is pretty much in a position to win, and he is going for it. A bunch of puppies trying to do what they can to get rid of the units coming in, and able to do so, but even with that, it's going to be rather difficult to get through this. However, between the shieldbot factory and the Jumpjet factory, LittleBunnyWabbit will have a decent offensive force. It's just that his economy is starting to get weaker. As we can see, Emblis is taking over a lot of the map, and while LittleBunnyWabbit is overdriving his metal extractors, Emblis just has more economy, period. He has 6 more metal per second, he has 7 more energy per second. He is ahead, and he is not wasting any of it. As you can see, this is a caretaker I was talking about, and a builder as well, so this factory is being assisted, and these units are popping out in no time. Well, relatively no time. So, in this case, 14 seconds or so. But it's still not taking very much time at all. And with the ticks, very nice use of a tick there. Getting rid of that bandit. I kind of wish I saw that coming. And Emblis moving his commander. He's really been heavy on his commander pushing. This is something that some players will do. They will push their commander forward because, like I said, it is a fairly powerful attacker. And his morph, heavy machine gun and nanolid. So he has higher build rate and a heavy machine gun, which is going to be fairly effective against these units coming in. I believe the heavy machine gun is the same... no, well, something similar to what the warrior has. But considerably slower than the warriors. The warrior has 2 of them, whereas the commander right now only has 1. But still, a good anti-raider build there that Emblis has. While LittleBunnyWabbit, his commander, still at... No, that's Emblis, sorry. LittleBunnyWabbit, commander at level 2, he's gotten himself another auto-repair system and auto-targeting, which is going to just increase his range. However, given that he's completely out of combat, that is going to be of no use. But he is still morphing. He's morphing to level 3 on top of this. I'm a little bit surprised at the fact that he's doing this, especially given the position he's in right now. He's taking a lot of damage to his main base, and he's focusing a lot of his economy, which, as I mentioned before, is weaker than Emblis is by a sizable margin, actually, by about 20%. Weaker than Emblis is, and he's focusing a lot of that on commander morphing, and not really building up a lot with the jump factory. I mean, the jump factory getting these jacks out, but the shield factory is going to be what he needs to get himself back in the game. Probably at this point what he should be doing is just using this to get probably Thug Outlaw, and just pushing forward with that, reclaiming some ground, getting his economy a bit stronger, and then from there possibly getting Sumo. I mean, I'm not personally the biggest fan of Sumos myself, but Sumo or maybe Firewalker. However, Sumo is still a very popular unit. It has been nerfed recently, which could be why LittleBunnyWabbit is not focusing on it. Very likely situation. But even then, LittleBunnyWabbit reclaiming and getting a fair amount of metal from that. Able to... One other thing for Acron fans that might be unfamiliar, in 0K and any Total Annihilation derivative, you can reclaim any unit corpses or map features, though this map doesn't have a whole lot of them, if any. I don't think there's any. But you can reclaim dead unit corpses, and that gives you a nice little resource boost, which LittleBunnyWabbit is taking advantage of, or at least getting a lot from. Mostly to his commander, getting Disruptor Beam, and High Frequency Beam. Disruptor Beam is, I believe, a slowing beam, not one I've seen actually very much. And his High Frequency Beam, I believe, is an upgrade to... I apologize, that's the laser as well. So he has a laser being buffed and essentially a slow snipe weapon. And getting rid of Emblis' commander, it is going down in a second. However, commander, unlike most Total Annihilation derivatives, commander destruction does not end the game. So Emblis' commander going down, LittleBunnyWabbit will probably be using that as a nice little source of resources for himself. While Emblis, on the other hand, his economy is actually... No, it's about the same as before. But LittleBunnyWabbit has caught up for metal, not for energy, and an airplane plant coming in. Emblis trying to end the game with planes, very common tactic. Commonly, airplanes are used as a second factory. That are gunships, but airplanes seem to see a lot more use. And airplanes are very powerful. Probably Napalm Bomber will be coming up, or actually, given the situation, I wouldn't be surprised if Stiletto, the EMP bomber, came up. Just use that to disable a bunch of units. Given how much Emblis has been using EMP so far, I wouldn't be surprised if he just continued that trend and decided to go for taking out this entire section with EMP bombers. Well, stunning it, and then coming in with a ground army and finishing it off. And the ground army being heavily built, a sharpshooter sniper unit for the Cloaky bot. Don't see this very often, but could be scary. I really don't see this very often, but they are effective units. They just are, once again, very expensive and rely on the fact that they are cloaked by default. And basically get that element of surprise. Get their one shot off. After that, it's going to be tricky, but that one shot may be all that counts, and there it goes, getting LittleBunnyWabbit with a nice little sniper shot, which also mentioned they have a very high reload time, so that is going to be something you've got to run away. Tick, however, coming in here for Emblis, and another glaive set coming from the back, and some rockets here coming to harass as well, so Emblis trying to focus on harassment. Not sure if he's focusing on harassment or coming from the back and flanking, but it could very well be neither, actually. He's doing nothing at this point, focusing too heavily on what's going on here. Both players heavily focused. You can see their cursors are right at Emblis' base. And LittleBunnyWabbit's fully upgraded commander, dealing lots of damage, has lots of range, and able to get rid of the caretaker in no time. And Emblis surrenders, the commander being too strong to deal with. That is the game, and I hope you enjoyed that. So we'll have one more tonight, and then that will be it. So stay tuned, everybody.